And now at noon, breaking news. A landmark ruling striking down abortion rights in America, sending decisions on abortion laws back to the states. Right now, protests surrounding the United States Supreme Court. You're looking live at the scene there. It has been an incredibly charged environment for several hours now. And just a few blocks away, President Biden decried the decision in remarks from the White House. We have also seen demonstrations here in the Houston area. There's been an avalanche of reaction from across the political spectrum, from across the U.S. and here in the Lone Star State. Some of the big comments: Governor Greg Abbott calling the court's decision correct, saying Texas is a pro-life state. Texas will always fight for the innocent unborn. The Houston Coalition for Life saying we've been waiting for this for 50 years. And some very strong words in opposition from former President Barack Obama, saying the court regulated the most intensely personal decision someone can make to the whims of politicians and ideologues. We have live team coverage at the court here in Houston and live in our studio. We begin, though, with Skylar Henry in Washington.
Hey there, good to be with you. Well, President Biden just wrapped up remarks in reaction to today's decision, calling it, quote, a sad day for the courts and for the country, while also calling on Congress to restore the protections that Roe v. Wade provided. Meanwhile, the implications of today's decision will impact tens of millions of women across the country, especially those in several GOP-led states, some of which have what's referred to as trigger laws in effect. Demonstrators against abortion rights erupted in cheers after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The mood outside the court highly charged with the release of the much-anticipated ruling.
We don't want to hear cheers about women being slammed back to the dark ages and all of society slammed backwards.
The conservative majority court sided with the state of Mississippi and its supporters in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization. With their case, Mississippi officials asked the High Court to eliminate the constitutional right to abortion, first established in 1973.
This is a wonderful opportunity to return this to the people.
According to the Guttmacher Institute, which supports abortion rights, an estimated 26 states were either certain or likely to ban abortion if the High Court overturned or dismantled Roe. The decision here today is the outcome of decades-long lobbying by groups against abortion rights. The appointment of 3 conservative justices during the Trump administration made it a sudden reality.
We've been knowing this was going to go down since Kavanaugh.
The watershed ruling follows an unprecedented leak of a draft majority opinion that sparked protests, including some outside justices' homes. The leak has impacted the High Court from the inside out. Chief Justice John Roberts has ordered a full investigation. Today, Roberts did not join the 5 conservative justices or 3 liberals. He said, in his own opinion, he would have stopped short of ending the right to abortion. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
All right, thank you, Skylar. Now to what is next, namely that the laws that will go into effect in Texas and across the country now that Roe has been overturned. They're called trigger laws, and at least 13 states, including Texas, have them. Another 13 states are either certain or likely to ban abortion. In Texas, the trigger law is House Bill 1280. Governor Abbott signing it into law last year, likely to take effect in a few weeks. That would automatically ban abortions. Texas doctors could face life in prison or a $100,000 fine for performing them. And on that trigger law, Republican Texas House Speaker Dave Phelan with this statement in the last 90 minutes. He said, quote, abortion in our state will be outlawed in a matter of weeks thanks to that trigger law, while pointing out that there are exceptions for preserving the life of a mother and promising that the 2023 legislature will double down on maternal care and resources for women, children, and families. We should note that the trigger law will not take effect for some time, that the 30-day clock will not start until after the Supreme Court issues its final judgment on the case. Today was an opinion from the court, not its final judgment. That according to information posted by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton online today. All right, a lot to break down on all of this, so we're going to get some information on this ruling, its potential impact, with UH Law Professor Seth Chandler. Professor Chandler, thanks for joining us. So it looks like that the Texas fetal heartbeat trigger law will be going into effect in a few weeks here, but you were telling me because of an old law, things could be happening much sooner, even theoretically today, sir?
That's correct. Texas had the law that was actually litigated in Roe versus Wade, Article 1191. And although that law that criminalized abortion has not been enforced for the past 50 years because of Roe versus Wade, many people have argued that it comes back to life the moment that Roe versus Wade is overturned. The Attorney General, Ken Paxton, issued a press release today saying that he thought it was possible for prosecutors to start going after people who provide abortion starting even today. And so the status of that old law, 1191, is going to be at issue sooner rather than later.
Wow, that is a big turn of events inside inside just a couple of hours from hearing from the Supreme Court. Another huge question for women, of course, is Plan B, the so-called abortion pill. Do you feel like this ruling will impact those?
I do. If you look at the definition of an abortion under the Texas trigger law, it speaks of using medication or drug post-fertilization, and at least on some occasions, that Plan B can work post-fertilization, as I understand it. And therefore, it is going to be unlawful under the Texas trigger law. It may possibly also be unlawful under that old Article 1191, although that's a little unclear.
All right. And Justice Clarence Thomas, a lot of it has been made of this morning, but he wrote in a separate opinion that the court should revisit contraception and gay marriage. Could this decision, do you think, trickle down to reverse these kinds of laws?
I do not think that is likely to happen, at least for a number of years. Remember that Clarence Thomas only got one vote, his own, on that point, and that the majority justices, 5 of them, including very conservative justices, went out of their way to say that this case did not challenge contraception, gay marriage, because in their view, there was not potential life on the other side of the equation.
All right. Professor Chandler from UH Law, thank you for adding some clarity on a very complicated situation. Thank you, sir. We have team coverage on this reaction to the landmark ruling. Jason Miles live in downtown Houston, and Gerald Harris in our studio with the political reaction. Jason, let's start with you.
Yeah, there are 2 sides to this very divisive issue. I checked in on both of them today, starting with those who oppose abortion rights. One group saying that they've waited on this for 50 years. You mentioned that a little earlier, Sherman. Take a look at this video out over on the Katy Freeway. This group of anti-abortion rights activists gather outside a women's clinic every Friday morning, and news that the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade happened to come down amid today's demonstration. Here's how one participant told me she felt.
Jubilation. I'm very, very happy right now. I haven't come down yet.
Now here's more video from outside the Supreme Court up in D.C. Another demonstrator here in Houston today told me she's also extremely happy, but cautiously so. That's because she realizes there are a lot of people who feel very differently. Now, the group Coalition for Life here in Houston plans a vigil/event over at the main Planned Parenthood offices, or outside of those offices off the Gulf Freeway. That's a little later this evening, but there are events scheduled by those who are very upset with today's decision as well. That includes a group gathering outside Houston City Hall at 6 p.m. And you can imagine over the next few days, we'll be hearing a lot more about planned events on both sides of the debate. Sherman, back to you.
Yeah, a lot of voices on this one. Thank you, Jason. And while we wait to hear from Planned Parenthood, we just got this statement in from Planned Parenthood Texas. It reads in part, "This deplorable ruling by the court's conservative majority strips Americans of their constitutional rights and further erodes abortion access in Texas," referencing SB 8, the controversial 6-week abortion ban. The statement said, "Texans know all too well the reality of living in a post-Roe world, for providers have been forced to turn away patients. It is heartbreaking and completely preventable." So much reaction coming in. This is a huge political story. More to cover. Gerald Harris live in our studio with some of the big names in Texas politics and what they are saying.
Yeah, 50 years of settled constitutional law for federal protections to access abortion gone, and both candidates for governor are speaking out. Greg Abbott, the Republican incumbent, says the U.S. Supreme Court correctly overturned Roe v. Wade and reinstated the right of states to protect innocent unborn children. Texas is a pro-life state, and we have taken significant action to protect the sanctity of life. His opponent, Democrat Beto O'Rourke, says, quote, the only way to overcome today's decision is to win this race for governor. The Supreme Court has sent this back to the states, and our current state's governor has outlawed abortion beginning at contraception with no exceptions for rape or incest. And your Texas lawmakers are speaking out. Senator Ted Cruz released a statement, quote, saying, quote, Roe was wrong the day it was decided, and it has been wrong every day since then. If you search for the word abortion in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, you won't find it. The court at the time acknowledged that, and yet Roe created a brand new constitutional right out of whole cloth. In Houston, Democratic Representative Lizzie Fletcher is pushing back, saying with this decision revoking rather than protecting rights for Americans, the court has created a devastating and dangerous path forward that jeopardizes the health and undermines the equality of people across this country. More reaction as it comes in throughout the day on KHOU.com. Back to you, Sherman.
All right, thanks, Gerald. No, you will be busy today. We will have continuing coverage on this landmark abortion ruling in our later newscast starting at 4. Be sure to download our free KHOU 11 mobile app and turn on those push notifications so you can get the latest alerts.